do here?
Well, you know, listen, I have my own job to do, and I'm a writer, and I tell stories, and that's what I do. But I can tell you that ever since 1993, when I started speaking, when I went to do my research on the corner, so that's how many years now? 17 years. For the last 17 years, I haven't taken a speaker's fee that has not gone to park and rec programming in West Baltimore, or to fund drug treatment beds, or now, because of New Orleans, to the New Orleans Health Clinic for musicians here, or to Habitat for Humanity here. And I'm talking, you know, my speaking, I mean, I'm not trying to be gauche here, but my speaking fees are between $10,000 and $25,000 per gig. So every year I try to do, even though sometimes I don't have time for them, sometimes they involve travel, I try to do a minimum of at least $100,000 worth of speaking. That I even tell people, you don't have to send the money to me, send it to this charity, send it to this 501c3. And so, you know, I'm trying to be not, you know, I'm not trying to be hypocritical. I'm trying to be.
So would you consider giving your money to a Jewish charity like Jewish Funds for Justice that, you know, that does most of its work in the non-Jewish community here, or like the American Jewish World Service, which does its work in the non-Jewish world in Latin America and Africa?
I would. I mean, I would have to see their agenda, and I would have to see what they're targeting. I mean, obviously, I have very, you know, because I'm interacting with people in order to get, you know, I'm interacting with musicians. I'm interacting with people who are seeking. When I was working on the corner, I was interacting with actual people who were seeking drug treatment, you know, who were struggling with addiction. And so, the notion of directing it right at what I knew to be the best soup kitchen or the best drug treatment facility, serving that actual population. You got to admit, unlike a lot of people, I don't exactly need the middleman to know that, you know, I want this to go to Viva House on Mount Street, because Viva House, you know, and I don't care that it's also associated with, it's part of the Catholic Charities. You know, I know those people by name. I know what they do. I know what they do every day. I didn't need a middleman, but if I did need a middleman, and if there was a cause in which, like, you know, for example, when Haiti happened, I needed a middleman. You know, I sent it to the Red Cross, because, you know, at that point, if there was a Jewish organization that I knew that was doing particularly good work in Port-au-Prince, I'd be happy to send it there. But I wanted to go to Port-au-Prince. You know?
Right. So, I mean, just bringing it back to New Orleans, you know, how much contact do you have with some of the volunteers and that is going on down here in general?
A lot. I mean, you know, I'm aware that Jewish service organizations have had days down here for people to help build the houses. I know about was it 300 or 600 Jewish professionals had a day. Well, you know, I know that there are instances. I'm not suggesting that it is a complete vacuum, and in fact, as I pointed out, I think they've done some good things. I just urge them to do more. I will say in Baltimore, maybe things have changed, and I don't know that, because obviously I'm not reporting on Baltimore with the same degree of intensity as I was when I was doing The Wire, or doing, and, you know, especially doing The Corner. That was years ago. But at the time, I can tell you that I very much admired the Weinberg Foundation, which a lot of people will tell you privately. The Weinberg Foundation is this, you know, fakakta, you know, three guys on a board. You get their attention, you don't. It's very idiosyncratic, and by standards of the organized philanthropies, they're kind of a off-the-charts kind of place. And yet, in the lives of poor people in Baltimore, by and large, the Weinberg, they intersect with the good works of the Weinberg Foundation to a far, far greater degree than the associate.
Well, I mean, they do exactly what you prescribe. I think they give, well, $100 million a year to charity, 50 goes to Jewish.
Half to the associated. Yeah. The associated gets half.
Well, it's not that.
Yeah. I think it is, isn't it?
It's Jewish causes. A lot of
oh, I'm sorry, you're right. But half was Jewish, half was non-Jewish. I thought it was actually 50-50, wasn't it?
Yes.
For Jewish, non-Jewish. Yeah. Right. And, you know, Harry Weinberg was a guy. He was basically a Jewish Carnegie who came up from, you know, dirt poor, and was assisted by not by, you know, the Jewish community as much as the collective. You know, he got free health care because the family was poor out of St. Agnes, so he gave St. Agnes a lot of money. I think they gave the Pratt money because, you know, he was educated. You know, he had a third grade education. After that, he was kind of an autodidact. used the libraries, he used public baths over by Hellman's Market. I mean, his story is pretty remarkable. And he, for whatever reason, he's not into culture and arts and giving money for this university. That's not him. He's about help the poor. And he gave, so by giving half of it, by directing half of it to something other than the Associated, suddenly there was a Jewish philanthropist who was having actual impact in the neighborhoods where I saw no other evidence of Jewish philanthropy. So as much as he was and listen, I talked to him on the phone once before he died. I tried to get him to talk about giving all his money. He had said, I'm going to give it all to charity. And I called up his apartment in Baltimore. He was busy having chemo at Hopkins. And he actually answered the phone. I said, Mr. Weinberg, this is David Simon from The Sun. I'm fascinated by you. You're going to give all this money. You have almost $1 billion. I don't want to talk to you. Bang. He was a curmudgeon. There's no other word for it, and something of a crank. And yet, I have to admire the man.
So, I mean, it's easy enough to talk about, going outside. Could you see, how do you get your charity to go, okay, 50-50, 50 Jewish, 50 non-Jewish? Or how do you get your peers, your friends who are Jewish to do that as well?
I don't know. I'll be honest, I'm not giving a lot of money to Jewish charities right now. I feel like they're doing okay. I am not unsympathetic to their causes or their needs. I am not adverse to helping Jews where Jews need help, but I feel like that work's going to get done, and so I sort of stand outside of it right now and say, I know that South Baltimore Station could use funding for an extra couple of beds, or I know that the Parks and People Foundation should keep running the Kids Grow program in these West Baltimore rec centers. Or I know that Viva House should have the resources and reserves so that they can keep going doing what they're doing every week, providing these meals in places where there's less and less hope. So that's where I'm at. And if at some point I saw the dynamic changing, and if I saw the Jewish community re-engaging with the greater American collective, I might see a means of addressing that under the umbrella of the Jewish community. I just don't see it now. I see some. I don't see it to the extent I'd hope for.
Right. What would you do if I came to you and said, okay, David, I'd like to hit you up for $50,000 to send, 10 Jews to Israel for free?
No, you wouldn't get it. To send 10 Jews to Israel for free? No, there's other need that is not being served in my own community right now. And I'm going to guess that there are people behind me, that the differential in the giving power of the Jewish community to, say, the African community or the Latino community in Baltimore, is such that behind me you will find 9 or 10 other Jewish Americans who are able to send those 10 Jews to Israel. And more power to them. But again, I feel like that job's going to get done. That if our collective is only serving our collective to a great extent, that work will get done by Jewish giving. But I feel as if I'm a citizen of the world, and in order to get to Park Heights, I have to drive through. I have to come up to Martin Luther King and drive through West Baltimore to get to Park Heights. And I can't not see what I see, and I can't not know what I know. They made me a reporter there, and those needs are desperate needs. And that our society, not just Jewish, but our society as a whole, doesn't see them as desperate need. It doesn't see the need to reconnect with our most vulnerable citizens is appalling to me. And so I'm sort of about job one right now. I'm not trying to denigrate job two, but I've got a feeling job two is going to get done with or without me. And I don't think job one's going to get done even with me.
David Simon.
Now I'm really stepping in it, didn't I?
I think you'll be all right.
Don't tell him where I live.
I think I'll be in more trouble than you.
Really? Don't tell him where I live. Don't tell him where you live.